Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Non-Scripted Ramblings. I'm Kendall Richardson and today we are going to be talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, which is super exciting in case you can't tell because I have this shirt on. Oh, the perks of my job, it's lovely. So this is very exciting because this is the first solo film for Spider-Man in the MCU. We've previously saw Peter Parker in Civil War, of course, in just what was such an amazing introduction to the character. Very, very cool. And this movie is hands down my favourite Spider-Man movie of all time. I'm just going to say from the top. I mean, I've always enjoyed the other films. I mean, maybe not so much Spider-Man 3 in hindsight now, I guess. But, but you know, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield brought a lot to the character and, you know, did a very good job with what they had. But I feel like just Tom Holland just really kills this character, kills this role, like, just nails it so well. And this movie just, for me, I feel like just really hit the core of who Spider-Man is, and especially in this version, like the MCU's version of Spider-Man. So that, you know, yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I'm excited to talk about it today. It's going to be fun. So the trailer for this movie is pretty good. You know, it does a really good job of both setting the high school setting, like the, you know, introducing the, you know, how like, firstly, how young Peter Parker is. He's actually proper high school kind of age, really. Like, he looks like it's very genuine. And then, you know, he's got Ned, his best friend, and then, you know, there's the girl he has the crush on, and then there is the girl that has the crush on him but won't tell anyone, kind of thing going on. And that's all set up and introduced, and then all the banter between him and Tony Stark as well. The little scene in the car is quite funny. So that's in the trailer, and then kind of halfway it kind of cuts off in between. Cuts off from the fun side to the dark and serious side of the film, which is the stuff to do with the Vulture, Michael Keaton's character, Adrian Toomes. And then, you know, as soon as he appears in the trailer, it just, you know, the stakes are just immediately ramped up and you're like, oh, okay, this guy means business. And he sure does. So it's a really good trailer. Doesn't really ruin too much. I think the only disappointing thing about the trailer versus the movie is the fact that the trailer had that super cool shot of Spider-Man and Iron Man, you know, flying, I guess, side by side through New York in that awesome shot. But that's not in the movie at all, so... but it was just fine because it works well as a trailer shot. It's a super cool trailer shot just to see them side by side like that. Like, it's like, yes, Spider-Man and Iron Man together on screen. It's just, yeah, it's what we've been waiting for so long. Like, yeah, and this movie too, just, he's finally in the MCU. So, so let's talk about the movie. I love just, the thing about this movie is the fact that it's still a Sony movie, because the deal that Sony made with Marvel in regards to Spider-Man was that Marvel can, you know, use Spidey as much as they want in the MCU and their movies, but, you know, you have to make a movie for us, but it's still our movie. So, like, yeah, so Marvel put all their people on it, but then it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's being distributed by Sony, and they're going to, you know, pretty much get all the coin at the end of the day, and Marvel will get a tiny take or whatever. But, you know, they worked out a deal that was mutually beneficial for everybody involved, and especially the fans, which is great. But the thing about that, saying all of that, I just love how much they've kind of gone out of their way in this movie to kind of really integrate it fully into the MCU. I mean, it's sort of a fringe film, if you will, because of the fact that it's still a Sony movie, but there's so much heavy references from everything that's happened in the MCU, riddled throughout this movie. And they do it in such a really just awesome way. Like, they don't really shove it down your throat kind of thing, that, you know, it's like, okay, we get it, he's in the MCU now, it's fine, guys, calm down. But it's kind of done, and it's just very clever. The way this movie's been written is very clever, and I really enjoy it. Because, I mean, you know, the movie starts off just after the Battle of New York, the events of the first Avengers movie. And we see Adrian Toomes and his men. They've got a contract with the city of New York to clean it up. They're in Grand Central Station, mopping up where one of the big Chitauri, like, you know, sentinels, or like monsters, was like, you know, it crash landed in there during the battle, and they're cleaning it up. And then they get told that they're being booted out by none other than Damage Control, which is a pretty cool comic book reference. There's a group in the company in the comics called Damage Control, and they come in and they clean up all the mess after every superhero and supervillain fight. And so it made perfect sense for Damage Control to be introduced in this movie, and the way they do it. But it's really great. And then the scene does a really good job in setting up the villain's motivation. I think Vulture and Michael Keaton, what he's done for this character is really just given us a villain that's just, you totally understand and can relate to him on some level. Like, he's just a blue-collar guy, regular Joe. You know, he's trying to, you know, he may be a bit misguided in his, you know, in his actions, but his intentions are pure in what he's doing. And, you know, he's just trying to, you know, support his wife and his daughter, and, you know, make an honest living. And then, you know, Tony Stark, the Avengers, and Damage Control kind of, you know, ruin that. So he's like, well, I'm going to take advantage of, you know, the situation I find myself in now and steal your shit and use it to make weapons. So then, you know, he said the world's changing, time we change too. And it's true. And then we get a flash to, I can't believe I'm saying this, 8 years later. So I really don't know when this movie is set, because Marvel still haven't released an official timeline. They said they were going to release one sometime in 2017. They said that, and they still haven't. I've been seeing stuff about how they may have made a mistake maybe with the timing, or like what year Homecoming's supposed to be, or what year Avengers. I don't know. It's all very confusing, because it literally says 8 years later, and this movie came out last year, which is 5 years after Avengers, not 8. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, I'm willing to whistle past it. But yeah, 8 years later, and Vulture's got his crew's very well established. They've used the Chitauri weapons and the technology from the Battle of New York to manufacture weapons. They've also, this is the really cool thing about how this movie connects with everything and how it inserts itself so well into the MCU. Not only are they using Chitauri weaponry, they're also using stuff from Ultron, stuff from the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Triskelion, and there was even a mention to obviously Sokovia with Ultron, but like Lagos and the explosion in Civil War and all of that. Like all these big things happen, and they've all been referenced in this movie, and they're taken. So because basically Damage Control has like taken all of their all of the it's the word I'm looking for. Just like everything, the debris, the wreckage, everything from all of the major fallout events of the MCU, and they've put them in this underground bunker sort of thing, warehouse, storage facility. And so Toomes and his men are like intercepting trucks and stealing stuff, so they can make their own weapons. And they've built some pretty formidable weapons. It's really, really intense, the kind of weaponry they've got. Like they can disintegrate people, and there's like anti-gravity, and yeah, it's full on what they can do. So, but I just love the way that they've taken the villain's motivation and given it purpose and given it like it makes sense within the context. It's just, yeah, it's really, really well done. Okay, Tom Holland, amazing. I love Tom Holland. He was such a good choice to play Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Knocks it out of the park. I've said it before, I'll say it again. He really does. He's so good. I love where we see him at the beginning of the movie when he's filmed, oh bless his little soul, he's filmed a vlog of like, you know, his trip to Germany for, you know, from Civil War, when he was recruited by Tony Stark to go join his team and fight against Team Cap, you know, or stop Team Cap really. And yeah, he filmed it all, and it's such a cool little way. It's such a cool way to be like, you know, previously in the MCU, this happened, or like, in case you missed it, this is what you've seen of Spider-Man so far, but they've done it in such an original and fun way that it's like, well, you know, it would make sense for someone his age to be wanting to film everything. It's 2018, it was 2017, you know, why not? Why not do that? And yeah, it's so clever and inventive and funny and hilarious. And I love, my favorite thing is his reaction to seeing his new suit, because we get to see him get his new suit. And just his reaction, and he's just like, it's the best day of my life. I can't believe, like, he's just, the smile on his face, like, the way he lights up, it's just wonderful. So I'm a huge fan of that. And then like when you get to see Ant-Man become Giant Man, and then, you know, Peter just turns around, Spider-Man turns around, he's like, oh, I gotta go, he's big now. Like, yes, he is big now, he's very big now. But yeah, that's, yeah, really super cool way to introduce the character. And then like the opening kind of montage of him, his first day after school, you know, in the suit, 2 months later after the events of Civil War, and he's just, you know, waiting for that next mission. And, you know, sending a million text messages to Happy Hogan, and Happy's not replying at all. But he's, you know, going around Queens and Manhattan and all of that, trying to stop all the bad guys and do the little guy jobs. And it's very endearing and wonderful to see, and I just love his spirit. It's done really, really well. Oh yeah, and in that, kind of amongst all of that happenings, we get the Stan Lee cameo, because there's this one scene where he thinks there's a guy breaking into a car, because it looks like he's breaking into a car, legitimately does, and then he breaks into the car, but then Spidey swoops in and then, like, you know, shoots his web at him and just, you know, kind of injures him a bit, and then the guy's like, what are you doing, you idiot, this is my car, and then like all the neighbours start yelling at each other and yelling at Spider-Man to tell him to go away and stuff, and then Stan Lee's one of those angry neighbours, and so that was kind of random and funny. And then he starts having a conversation with one of the neighbours from across the way out of the window, well, because why not? What else shall I talk about? Oh yeah, there's a bunch of references to Peter's origin story in this movie, because we still don't know exactly his origin in regards to this universe, but obviously it's the same deal, radioactive spider, Uncle Ben's died, and thus he becomes, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, you know, that whole thing. But they really whistle past the whole thing, and they just allude to it, like you get one line where Peter's like, you know, worried about Aunt May, he's like, with everything that's happened with her recently, and it's obviously alluding to Uncle Ben. And then there's, you know, and then Ned is trying to get all the information he can out of Peter to be like, you know, how the hell are you Spider-Man? Explain everything. And he just keeps asking all these questions, and then, you know, we get the reference to the radioactive spider, and you know, he's trying to figure out all his abilities and stuff. So yeah, we get hints of it, but yeah, maybe that's all we're gonna get. I mean, we are getting a Homecoming sequel. Excuse me. It probably won't be called Spider-Man Homecoming, but that maybe that'll go into a bit more detail, and we'll get some Uncle Ben backstory. Maybe, who knows? Okay, one of my favorite things about this movie is Captain America. Captain America is in this movie 3 separate times, and it's fantastic. He's he's in the gym scene. He's like talking to the kids about how, you know, the gym teacher's going to take them through some exercises, and he's pointing the wrong way because the gym teacher's standing on the other side of the monitor of the TV. And then the guy's like, I'm pretty sure he's a war criminal now, but whatever. The government's paying for this. We've got to listen. We've got to listen to him, what he says. It's quite funny. And then in detention, there's a detention video, and then I will get to I will save the third one for last because it's the last thing I'm going to say before I wrap up. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. Another couple of cool little Easter eggs I want to mention that are in this movie as well. References to the MCU as a whole. One's a little bit of a meta one. Jennifer Connelly does the voice of Karen, who is, you know, or AKA Suit Lady, the voice of Spider-Man's, you know, I guess AI, you know, in the costume. So she does the voice. She's actually married to Paul Bettany, who is Vision, aka Jarvis. And I thought that was pretty sweet. When I realized who she was, I was like, oh, that's so clever. Like, how clever of them to do that. It's, yeah, super cool. Oh God, excuse me. I'm still very sick. Can you tell? Oh God, forgive me. Okay, so I love that. And then there's another super cool Easter egg. The actor Kenneth Choi is in this movie. He plays the principal. And if you think he looks familiar to you, you are right. It's because he was in Captain America: The First Avenger. He was one of the Howling Commandos. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. Maybe that's like the whole Alfre Woodard thing with her being in Civil War and then her being in Luke Cage and playing 2 different characters. Maybe that's a thing. So then I looked it up, and the principal is the Howling Commando's grandson. They've actually specifically said he's his grandson. So the Howling Commando, his name was Jim Morita. And yeah, obviously he survived the rest of the war and came back and, you know, lived out the rest of his life, and then eventually would have this principal as his grandson, and he's only in a couple of scenes in this movie, and that's all it is. And yeah, it's just, yeah, I think that was really awesome. Good job. Very much love little Easter eggs like that. It's so awesome. God, what else? Oh yeah, there's references to the other Spider-Man movies in this one too. There's, or just Spider-Man in general, because I forgot to mention at the start, when the Marvel logo is coming on screen, it's not the traditional Marvel music. They've taken the original Spider-Man theme from the TV series and adapted it to an orchestra and put it behind the Marvel logo, and it's the best thing you will ever see. Like, it's just, when I watched the movie, I was sitting there just like humming along, tap my feet, and like just going, oh yes, this is so good, it's so cool. They did such a good job. Michael Giacchino, the composer, amazing. Go watch it. You can probably find it online. It's just I think there's even a clip of them recording it in studio with the full orchestra, and yeah, it's wonderful. There's a reference to Spider-Man, or the first Spider-Man, with the upside down kiss, because after Peter saves all the students from the elevator falling in the Washington Monument, he's hanging upside down and he's facing Liz, which is the girl that he's crushing on, and then Karen says to him, "This is your moment, kiss her." And he's upside down, so it's like, okay, well, obviously that's a reference to that. And then just before he saved her life, just before that moment, it was very much a nod to the events of Amazing Spider-Man 2 when Gwen Stacy died, because Peter couldn't catch her in time. She was, and the same thing happened here. Liz fell, but Peter caught her, and it was almost in the exact same fashion. So Yeah, except obviously she survived, which is good. So I thought that was a nice little wink, 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 wink. Another one, oh my God, there's so many references, it's crazy. Donald Glover's in this movie for a couple of scenes, which is awesome. He plays Aaron Davis, who, if you're familiar with, I think it's the Ultimate Marvel Universe, he is known as the villain, the Prowler, who just happens to be the uncle of Miles Morales, who is, Spider-Man, the other Spider-Man, not Peter Parker, but he's, there's obviously a huge run of comics and TV shows that has Miles Morales as Spider-Man as well, because a lot of people were campaigning for Donald Glover to be Miles Morales. If they were going to make Spider-Man Homecoming, or they were just going to make Spider-Man in general, people were wanting Miles Morales, but then they decided to go with Peter Parker again, which is fine. It's worked out fine. I mean, I remember being a bit frustrated at the time, so I was like, well, why not make it Miles Morales? I mean, why not go something different? Like, this is the MCU now. We can be different. We can be diverse and break new ground, and why the hell not take a different approach to really separate yourselves from the previous iterations. But I guess they decided to keep the Peter Parker, and it's worked, like I said, it's worked out fine because Tom Holland is excellent. But that's a really cool reference. There's also at one point a reference to Cap having a new shield, but now I feel like I don't know if that's I think this is a throwaway reference, as is the reference to Thor's magic belt, which is called, I'm gonna butch this pronunciation, it's Megingjord or Medjingjord, something like that. But it's a belt that if whoever's wearing it, they can lift Mjolnir, basically. But I don't think that's gonna happen anymore. So I think those two lines are a bit of a throwaway. At the end of the film, we also find out that Michelle, the super cool and slightly creepy, but creepy in a good way, chick that's sort of crushing on Peter is who's played by Zendaya, is actually MJ, aka Mary Jane, but she's Michelle something, maybe Michelle Jane, I guess. I don't know. They've gone a different approach with her, and I think that's kind of cool. I mean, it's a little cheesy at the end when she was like, "My friends call me MJ," and I'm like, half the people kind of groaned in the audience when I saw it the first time, but I was like, "Oh no, that's cool. I like her. Let's do this. I like this. This is good." Gosh, so much. Okay, Iron Man and Spider-Man in this movie. Brilliant. Tony Stark as his mentor, brilliant choice. Could not have been more happy with it. Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland have a really good on-screen chemistry together. All of their scenes are wonderful. They bounce off each other perfectly, very naturally. And I just love that scene after the ferry incident where Tony comes in and saves the day. And he kind of gives him a bit of a lecture and then he takes the suit off him, but they kind of have an argument, and Peter's like so upset and so emotional. He's like, "You should have listened to me. I warned you something bad was going to happen. You didn't listen." And he's right, but then Tony did listen and called the FBI. He's like, "Who do you think called the FBI?" "It was me. I told you to stay away because I had this handled essentially." But I love, there's a couple of lines in that argument where where Peter's just like, "I wanted to be like you," and then Tony's like, "Oh, I wanted you to be better." And then that's kind of mirrored again with the whole Peter then going on to say, "Well, you can't take away my suit. I'm nothing without my suit." And then Tony's like, "If you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it." And I just, that one line, and then the whole, 2 lines. "I wanted you to be better, and if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it." 2 lines, perfect reference to the entirety of Tony Stark's character growth over all of these movies, because that's kind of who he was before, before he went through everything he went through and everything we've been talking about in these videos, or I've been talking about. And I just love the fact that they've just shown how much he's grown as a character, and and then just seeing where Peter's at, and I feel like it helps to connect them, because Tony can obviously see parts of himself in Peter, and he obviously feels so protective of him and doesn't want anything to happen to him, but wants him to succeed, because like himself, he knows he can be great, and he has potential for greatness, and to save many lives and help, as they do. But I really love that. It's done brilliantly well. Then I guess, let's just quickly talk about Vulture. Michael Keaton is fantastic and steals every scene he's in, with the exception of the reveal scene in the house, and then in the car following, when we realise that Adrian Toomes is actually Liz's father. Brilliant acting from both of them, like Tom and Michael Keaton. Like, I cannot even, like, it's just so well done. And you see the cogs ticking on Vulture's face when he's figuring out that the reason Peter's freaking out is, and then everything that Liz is saying is like putting two and two together. He's Spider-Man, and then just like the campiness, but in a good way, of like the light changing to green when he kind of like was like maliciously like, saying like, he's a good guy, that's Spider-Man, or whatever the line is, but he's like referring to Spider-Man, and then the light goes green, shines on his face, and he's like smiling really evilly, and it's like, oh, okay, whew, all right. And then after Liz gets dropped off and they have that conversation in the car, I remember, like, you could hear a pin drop in the theater during that scene. It was so tense. Like, you really could cut the tension with a knife. It was just insane in the car, like, because you didn't know what was going to happen the first time you saw that. You're like, what's happening? I mean, he's not going to die, but like, what's going on? Like, Michael Keaton was just so menacing in this movie, and then Tom Holland matched him, like, with his, he held his own, freaked out but didn't freak out, like, didn't go crazy or anything. And oh man, it's one of my favorite parts of the movie as well. It's just another reason why this is my favorite Spider-Man movie, because it's just these scenes, these little scenes, not even the big action pieces. Like the Staten Island ferry is great. The ending scene with the airplane with all the equipment on it is fantastic, but just that scene in the car, whew, yes, more of that, please. Very good. Okay, so I think we'll start to wrap up now, because I'm getting up to nearly half an hour, so sorry everyone, but thank you for watching. Yeah, so we get the Iron Spider suit shown at the end of the film, because Tony and Happy bring Peter up to the Avengers base in upstate New York, and they're like, Tony's like, you know what, you've proved yourself to me. You can, you did the right thing. You didn't kill anyone, or get anyone killed rather. Like, just, you proved yourself to be the hero, and that you deserve a spot on the team. So he's like, we're going to make you an Avenger, and there's a big press conference about to happen. We're going to announce you to the world as the newest Avenger. And then Peter thinks it's a test, so he declines, but he also declines because he's like, no, I think you're right. I think I was a bit over my head, because, like, he nearly died like 1,000,000 times. Like, it was pretty intense, everything he went through. So that was really nice to see his growth as a character, just going like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe he's right. I need to not, now that we've dealt with Vulture, that's done, I can go back to just focusing on the little guy, and then working my way back up to becoming, an Avenger or whatever they want me to be. But obviously with Infinity War about to happen, you know, we're going to get to see Iron Spider a lot sooner, which is very exciting. And then the reveal of Pepper Potts was super cool. See her come out, and then her and Tony kissed, and it was like, oh yay, Pepperoni is back on, everyone. It's so exciting. And then they are engaged maybe now. I don't know, but I really love that little, you know, little nod to like the first Iron Man film, when Tony's like, you still got the ring, right? And Happy's like, I've been carrying it around since 2008. Yes, very good. I like that a lot. And then, yeah, okay, so then mid-credits scene, we get the scene of Toombs in prison after the events of the end of the film, where he unsuccessfully tried to steal all of the hardware from the plane that went down. And he's having a conversation with that guy who was, you know, trying to do the deal on the ferry. The actor's name is Michael Mando, and he was in Orphan Black, which is one of my favourite shows. And he's got a scorpion tattoo on his neck, and I was supposed to check it before I recorded the video, but I remember someone saying that he was, that was a reference to him as a character from the comics, I think. So he might pop up again in the next movie. But, you know, he's like, you know, word is you know who Spider-Man is. We want to kill him. Tell us who he is. And he's like, if I knew who he was, he'd already be dead. And so for some reason, Michael Keaton decided to spare Peter momentarily. Like, not really sure what his plan is there. Maybe he wants to get out and exact his own revenge. Or maybe he was just like, because obviously there's still, the guy is not totally evil. Because, you know, the way he was with his wife and his daughter, and the fact that everything he did came from a place of good. And then the fact that, you know, he let Peter get out of the car because he saved Liz in Washington. Maybe, you know, he's just kind of like, well, he saved my life, you know, after, you know, my equipment exploded, after his vulture wings exploded on him. Maybe he's going to spare him for now. So who knows? I guess, you know, there's definitely chances for him to return later down the track. And then the last credits scene, the end credits scene, is the third of the Captain America scenes in this film, and it's the best one, and it's also a big middle finger. I love it. I love it. I love it. Way to be meta, Marvel. Way to be meta. They've literally had Cap there doing one of his public service announcements, and he's talking about patience and how, you know, you should wait. Sometimes you have to wait because it's important to wait for things, even though they may be not what you thought, or you're disappointed, or all of, like, he was just alluding to, like, guess what, guys, you waited to the end of the credits just to see me talk about how you waited until the end of the credits. Amazing, 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 amazing. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. God, do yourselves a favor and watch the special features on the Spider-Man Homecoming Blu-ray, because there's some extra Captain America announcement things, and some of him doing the bloopers. There's some bloopers from that. It's very funny. But yeah, perfect way to end the movie. Very, very good. Okay, speaking of ending movies, let's end this video. I love the movie. Favorite Spider-Man movie ever. Just incredible. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Sorry I've been looking down so much. I'm just like, I'm sick, so I'm concentrating extra hard on my notes. I forgot to mention Betty Brant. Betty Brant's in this movie as well. She's one of the high school students that's sitting behind the desk for the, like, you know, the little corny TV reports, high school report things they're doing, and she's J. Jonah Jameson's secretary in the comics, and also a future love interest of Peter Parker. So there's your reference there. She was played by Elizabeth Banks in the original trilogy of with Tobey Maguire as well. So another reference to the movies. So it's just, yeah, what? So good. Thank you so much for watching and putting up with me and my illness and my coughing and my ramblings. That's what these videos are. They're my non-scripted ramblings. That's the whole point of the title. Okay, so when we come back, next video we're going to be talking about Thor Ragnarok. I'm so excited. That's going to be a long video though. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. It's going to be fun though, so I hope you can come back and watch. Thank you so much for watching this one. I've been a Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced non-scripted ramblings.